I get asked all the time, how do I manage multiple podcasts without losing my mind? So I thought for today, I would share with you some of my secrets, some of my tips, some of my tricks, and things that I like to do to make sure that I keep my podcast workflow going and also don't lose my mind in the process. Let's get into it. Today's episode is brought to you by Northflow. Northflow is a podcast project management system / content management system that I co-founded alongside 3 other co-founders, and it is a product that launched in January of 2025, so this year. Today's episode is brought to you by Northflow as we are coming out of our beta phase and turning the product into a paid product very, very soon. Having that said, I want you to be able to get your hands on it before everybody else, and I would love if you could go and request your invite to try out the software completely for free by going to northflow.io. The link for that is in the episode notes below. So now let's get into today's episode. I thought it would be fun to share with you some of the things that I do to manage all of the things that I have going on without losing my mind. Some of those things are being a 2-time founder, so of my agency that I run and that I'm in every single day, and also Northflow, which is the SaaS company that I was just telling you about that is bringing you today's episode, and also my 2 podcasts, Happiness Happens, and as it relates to podcasting, client work, family, friends, life, travel, and all of the above. Because here's the reality. When we create our podcast and when we have a podcast, the purpose of having our show is to bring a message to the mic. And the purpose behind that is typically to amplify a message that we want to share, something that we're already talking about, and bringing an important topic to share with other people in a more significant way. So, when you have your podcast, it's more often than not an extension of you. And it can be really frustrating to create your podcast, to have your podcast going, and to have it feel super, super overwhelming in the process. And I'm going to be so honest with you, I have absolutely been there. I recently just put my podcast on very brief hiatus, this show, and I actually just stopped creating content altogether because I was just overwhelmed. And I actually put my Happiness Happens podcast on hiatus over a year ago because equally was not aligned to the message anymore. Now, Happiness Happens will be a podcast that I bring back to air probably after the summertime. And as it relates to podcasting, is a show that's fairly easy for me to pick up because we're just talking about podcast content, which I talk about every single day anyways. But I want to share with you some of the ways in which I've been able to bring podcasts back without losing my mind and managing everything that I manage at all times and doing it in a way that leaves me feeling a little bit more fulfilled, less burnt out. The very first thing is that I have an incredible team, and I would be remiss. I cannot do all of the things that I get to do without having my team. Having that said, you might not be able to have a team, or you might not be in a position where you have a team or want a team even. So how do we make sure that we don't lead ourselves into burnout and we can still do and create and have all the things that we want to do without hitting that phase of burnout? What I would say is this: take a look at your list, figure out what you love to do, and make sure you're doing more of those things. There's always going to be stuff that we do that we don't love doing. That's kind of the reality. And just being a founder and being an agency owner and running my own business, I really try hard to not do a lot of the things that I don't love doing anymore, mostly because I have the privilege to be able to do that. But that said, there's also plenty of times where I do things and I do have to do things that I don't love to do. And that is totally okay because it's all part of the journey and it is all part of the process. Having that said, I wouldn't be able to edit all of the incredible shows that we do just by myself, or plan content for our clients by myself, or review scripts or review anything for my clients by myself. So I have an amazing team that help me do this day in and day out. So the very first thing that I'm going to say is, I don't want to use the word delegate, but I want to encourage you to look outside of the box. What are the things that you love to do? What are the things that you want to do more of? And how do you bring more of that into your life and less of the things that you don't love? For example, if you don't like editing, how do you possibly find a way to maybe find someone who can do some editing for you? do we need to look at cost? And then how, in that sense, how can you bring in maybe a little bit more to help cover that cost? Is there a service swap you can do, right? There's ways to think outside of the box to help get you to where you want to go without burning the candle at both ends, if you will. Okay, so that's the first thing, my incredible team, and honestly taking a look at an inventory at the things that I love to do, don't love to do, and I definitely do more of the things that I love to do on a daily basis than not. So the second thing is, as a podcaster, as a business owner, as a creator, as an agency owner, whatever hat you're wearing, you need to have a way to manage all of the things that you're doing. So when I first started my business, I was using Trello, which was absolutely a hot mess, to be honest with you, because I needed to create my own template, and it evolved over the years, but it honestly was not perfect. And it was really hard to keep track of things because it just didn't do things the way that I needed them done. So I did that. I had the Google Drive. I had email. I had all these piecework spreadsheets and like random things in so many different places, and would pull them together to manage client podcasts, to manage my own workflow, to manage my own to-do list, and all of the above. Where that was like a little bit frustrating is that it's not the easiest method to keep track of. Okay, I'll be very honest. So when we created Northflow, we created it with podcasters and creators in mind. And what's perfect about this is that in your Northflow account, so once you go to northflow.io, you can request your invite. Once you request your invite, you get access to the software. You put your RSS feed in the software and it pulls your show directly. It gives you sample podcast episodes that you could possibly create in the future. And then you have your show, and within your show, you can create your episodes. What I absolutely love the most, though, is two things. The first thing is that you have templates for your episodes. So you can go in and you can create different templates per show that either you're working on as an agency owner or that you're creating as a creator. So you don't have to reinvent your workflow every single time. But then on top of that, to go even a step deeper, we have created a production schedule within Northflow. So you can go in and you can plan out your episodes for seasons, for the next few months, for the next year, what guests you want to have on. So everything is directly in there when it comes to the show planning, which I absolutely love. Because then once you plan your episodes, now you can go into your episode card and you can go into that card and know exactly what tasks you have to do, when they need to get done by, and who is responsible for them. So what's great about this is that everyone on the team always knows exactly what they need to do and by when they need to do it. So in addition to that, there's a calendar in there, a booking calendar. So now I can schedule any interviews that I need to do. I can schedule them directly through Northflow, and it creates a contact inside Northflow directly. So you can communicate through there as well, which is awesome. And you also have intake forms. So what I love about the intake forms is that you collect all of your guests' information in one spot. Everyone has access to the links, the headshots, everything that you're going to need for show notes. So truly, it takes everything and puts it in one specific spot. I am not a huge planner. I will absolutely admit this. I, more often than not in the past, tend to not fly by the seat of my pants, but I don't always plan months and months and months out. I know a lot of people who do. Northflow is good for whatever type of creator you are, whether you're someone who likes to plan out in advance, or if you're a little bit more last minute like me, you can still plan things out. But then you can also move things around, so it doesn't have to be set in stone, especially when it comes to planning the next few weeks, the few months, and then into the next few years. Everything is there directly for you. So this has been a huge game-changing way that I've been able to get re-inspired, get more creative, and actually want to share more on my podcast because I have a place to put all of my ideas in one spot. So that is another way, and it's a huge way. I highly recommend you go check it out. It's northflow.io, and you can go there and you can request your invite directly. And the third thing that I want to share with you is something that I feel like is a little bit underrated, but it comes to your own personal calendar. One of the things when I started my business that I was so thrilled and happy about was that I could control my time, do what I wanted, when I wanted to do it, and I didn't have to ask any questions or any permission from anybody. The downfall of that is that we don't always follow a calendar when we're doing that. And then I was finding that I was kind of scrambling by the end of the week, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why don't I have enough time? So a huge game-changing thing for me has been planning out my calendar and putting in specific time blocks to work on client work, to work on Northflow work, to work on Volt Productions work, to work on my own podcast, to record, to do trainings, to do podcast interviews. And having my schedule a little bit more planned out really has opened up so much more space in my life. And I have 2 boundaries that I set for myself that I recommend you create a boundary, not necessarily similar to this if you don't want to do this, but I have Mondays and Fridays blocked for client calls. So I don't take any client calls on Mondays or Fridays. And it's just a boundary that I have with myself and something that I really love and really honor. So these are my 3 tips for you today. The first one is figuring out what you love to do. Delegate the rest. Find a team that can help you, that can support you. And if you're not in a place where you can do that right now, how can we create a little bit more space in your life so that you can get access to the resources that you need in order to be able to hire out the things that you don't love to do? The next one is plan and organize your content properly. Use a software that will help you. Northflow is literally designed for this, and so I would love for you to go in and request your invite. It is still a free product in this moment, so please go and request your invite. Get in as a founding member. Their perks are unreal, so I look forward to connecting with you there. And then the third one is creating your calendar for you. Set your calendar up in a way that is going to help you, that is going to support you, that is going to encourage more free space and time in your day and your life. Limit the amount of calls that you take. I find that I'm totally drained and totally exhausted after a whole day of calls. And then I don't bring my best self to my day the next day or the following day, right? So you have to find ways to manage your energy. You have to find ways to manage the amount of energy you put out and give yourself space to bring that energy back in as well. Those are the foundations for success, and that is how you become an aligned founder. So thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Please remember to check out Northflow. You can find it at northflow.io. They are the sponsor of today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.